fourth round Kenya Cup match, pole sana, but thank you for coming here.
Asante.
You have to represent them on both ways.
Absolutely. I've actually come from there.
Yes, exactly. How was it?
Hitting the traffic.
Yeah, of course. Which game were you into?
There was the KCB Mwamba.
Yes.
So I watched a bit of that, but I was also discussing other issues.
How do they look after Christmas, those players?
They look in good shape because they're taking it seriously. And then the next game was the derby, Ngong Road Derby, Queens Impala. So today there were 4 games at one venue, which is what we like, and the team that is left to the teams to decide. So they're working together, as you can see. We have not forced them. They bring 4 games together. So Kenyans should just go and watch the games. I imagine having 4 games, high-class rugby, in one venue.
Mumesikia chairman amesema, of course, there is some electric games that are happening along Ngong Road. That if you do not want to miss that. Of course, we also have our very own Boniface Kimanzi, who definitely later on shall be able to catch up with him to show us the action, if indeed the chairman is saying the truth. But of course, I can imagine that particular spirit at the Kenya Rugby Union. So, karibu sana. We have some in-depth information about you, Sasha, chairman. Of course, I remember from 2012 to around 2014, I was just looking at I was sneaking into your socials where you've actually played rugby before. And if someone just looks you in person, they will not believe you played rugby. Maybe let them hear that from your horse's mouth. When was that?
Yes.
Where was that?
I started playing rugby in high school in Strathmore. 1991 is when I picked up my first rugby ball at 14. Yes. And that's pretty young in Kenya because starting at 14, we have had players who played for Kenya when they start at 19. But ideally, we should have started at 6, 7 years old. So I played in Strathmore. I captained the school team. In our year, we beat Lenana in Prescott, which was a big thing. Good rivalry with St. Mary's next door. Paul Odera was the captain. I was the captain of Strathmore. Paul Odera now is the coach for the Kenya under-18 team, which is the most important thing now for Kenya Rugby, about getting the young players all the way up. So that growth. I entered University of Nairobi in 96. Played for Mean Machine between 97 and 99. I retired. I broke my leg at the Enterprise Cup final, 99. Retired. But I was always in rugby. Went into coaching. Then I was elected youngest director of Kenya Rugby, 2006 to 2010. So I ran the Kenya Sevens that time. Appointed Akina Benja, Oscar Osir, Toti. All those were my contemporaries. We played against each other, never in the same team, unless it was Kenya team. I changed, of course, Kenya Sevens. Left because I could only do 2 terms. I was elected in 2012 as vice chairman until 2014. And I lost an election by 1 vote. And I've been out. I've run for chairman, lost, but I became chairman in 2023. So it's been that journey. So playing rugby into administration, all that, yeah. So rugby is my passion, yeah.
Well done, well done. You have, of course, most people are like, oh, this Sasha, we've just seen him to this time, 2023, we've never seen him between now, you know, of course, that's what, and I can imagine you just given them a skeleton, so I can imagine the in-depth of all those things. Of course, the milestones you've achieved in rugby are there for, of course, for the people to see in rugby. Kenya Cup is here. We have, of course, our Sevens teams. We have the Lionesses. We have the Chipus and all these things. Yeah. I will learn to dissect, of course, and start with the immediate one, Kenya Cup. How does it look? How does it look in terms of player welfare, in terms of what do they take home? Because I remember you had a partnership, of course, with several organizations. How is that?
Yeah, so
are the players happy?
Yeah, so what's happening is we're at a very advanced stage of talks with potential sponsors for the leagues. So actually a lot of things. The 15th team, which still does not have a sponsor. We just tied up Safaricom. Safaricom came back to rugby after 9 years. They left in 2015 because of certain issues of governance in KRU. And that we admit, of course. And you have to come back clean and tell people the truth. There were issues and things are being fixed now. So Safaricom, which is the biggest corporate in Kenya, is back. That's also just a show of, you know, they actually believe in us, what we're saying. And of course, we worked together. And it's already, showing dividends. Sport Pesa increased their sponsorship. KCB is coming in. We have other sponsors who have been there. But right now, it's getting back, you know, the credibility, building back the trust. And that is what we're doing. And you can see you know, the number of shillings that are coming into our account, and not into our account, straight to the players. So the player welfare has been taken care of at that level for national team. So for Kenya Cup, which was not a sponsor for many years, I cannot even remember. I think it was the time I was playing rugby. You know, that was long ago. Enterprise used to be sponsored as well. I actually broke my leg in that Enterprise Cup final, which was Guinness that time. Getting now those sponsors back and showing them value, not just what are you putting in, what is the return. Of course, bringing the fans to the stadium is big because sponsors want to see, it's not charity. Of course, now we also have progressive tax laws in Kenya where if you put money into sports, you get tax rebates. So we have even one of the top tax experts in Kenya sitting on the board of KRU. So we are taking this seriously like business because things have to change. Rugby turned professional after the 1995 Rugby World Cup. We have not gone professional, but this is the year now we intend to start professional rugby. Late to the party, 30 years after rugby went professional, but we are going to do it.
Indeed, and I'm looking at, I remember, of course, the former sports minister, Ababu Namwamba, kickstarted this program, the Talanta Hela. I remember, of course, you two were definitely working hand in hand. How is that so far in terms of those talents that we are?
Yeah, so what's happening now is they have a December camp. So they bring all the talents together. It's up to the federations to put in the young players that they've scouted. So KRU has RDOs all over the country, regional development officers. When I came into office, we were around 8. We have doubled that to 16. And that's still a small number for this big country with rugby being played everywhere. So, but our RDOs are there getting the talents, and then in December they are sent there. But now we want to start. Of course, we've started the Kenya Under-18 team, which was in limbo. I've put in Paul Odera, as I said, my opposing captain when you're playing high school rugby. He's in charge. He's a former Simba's coach. So he's come from coaching the national team, men, close to a World Cup qualification to now. The most important thing for us is the age grade. Yeah. So we have already chosen through the SOUL system, funded by Kenya Rugby, and the small development grant we get from World Rugby. But of course, with our money coming in from everywhere else, we put it there because it's an important program. That's why we put in most prominent coach in Kenya in charge of Under-18. So we have that team. And we have been invited to one tournament in Zimbabwe in April, so that team will go there. And that's the progression that we want from the Under-18 to Chipu, the Under-20, going into the national team. And in fact, even start earlier at Under-14s. Indeed. So we have that whole program in because we plan to qualify for the Rugby World Cup in July this year. And once that is done, we know that will be, rugby is going to change in this country completely. But the young talents that we are looking at them 20 years down the line. That they've started now at 6 years old. That's why I came in and told you I started rugby at 14. That's late. And South African players, Australia, the ones we play against start at 6 years old. So you have to have players like that. Thankfully, we have some Kenyan players now who started playing when they're 9, 10 years old. And they're in the national team like Asati, somebody like that. So you can see already how he is on the pitch because he's had a ball, rugby ball in his hand since he was 10 years old. So there's a big difference. That's what we want to do.
Well done in that, of course. And I see also, besides even just the talent that you're looking for, you've also fully invested. There's a change, there's a new breath of air in terms of the people who are handling this talent.
Yeah.
I can see the likes of Kina Monde are now being incorporated. The former players who were there who did a marvelous job. You're doing that. How is that so far? And when did that really kick in to start that? Because we are not really...
Yeah, you see, you have to have involved the former players. Somebody who's played for Kenya at that level knows, We brought in former, when I was now director in 2006, Benjamin Ayimba. Yes. Because that time Gordon Anampi was the head coach of the sevens team, and he was retiring. So there's a progression of the senior players who would go into coaching. Okay, so that's a time we sat and talked with the outgoing team. It was all, talking. We are contemporaries, we played against each other, we are teammates. This is for Kenya, So that's the first time it started, yeah? And I remember I appointed Benja on radio, not even through the board. So I was in trouble, but it worked out. And that year started off badly because we went to Dubai and I was team manager of the team because Oscar couldn't travel because of work. So we went there and we lost to Arabian Gulf. Worst performance ever. A week later, we in George, we performed better. We were in the bowl final against Scotland. And that team progressively grew, improved. And in 2009 is the first time we got to a semi-final of a Rugby World Cup, sevens, and then in 2013. So this progression has to be there from the young kids playing, when they retire into management, and then onto the board. Now we have Humphrey Kayange is one of my directors. So that is the progression that we have that should be followed by, I think, every federation.
That's true indeed. And of course, later on you'll be able to share with us about what you're doing for the ladies. The women, of course, you remember recently, of course, they were hosted Madagascar round. Where are we, of course, in terms also of our leagues for the women? Where are we in terms also for our international and our national teams as well? And of course, also you share with us some of your success stories in the rugby. We have, of course, the chairman of the Kenya Rugby Union, Sasha Mutai, to, of course, paint a picture of some of the successes, the challenges, where they are, of course, in terms of rugby in the different levels and sectors, of course, of rugby in the country, both the national leagues, all those county, international, where we are definitely to see, has he, of course, been speaking water and taking wine, or has he been speaking wine and taking water? We shall be having more in a bit, but if you're joining us, this is Sports Extravaganza. My name is Tony Kwalanda. We have a question of the day just before you go. Remember, we are having a question of the day where we want to ask you and be indulging you into this. We shall be sharing some of your feedback. You can send us WhatsApp video clips through our WhatsApp number, 20 seconds in a quiet place, of course, to answer this very simple question. We are asking you, do you think Kenya, or how ready is Kenya? Do you think Kenya will be ready to host the 2024 CHAN football tournament? Do you think Kenya will be ready to host the 2024 CHAN or Africa Nations Championship football tournament in February? Talk to us on our WhatsApp, talk to us on SMS, talk to us on all the platforms that are available on you with the numbers below your screen. We're taking a very short break. We'll be back with Sasha Mutai. Welcome back. We are live. This is Sports Extravaganza. My name is Tony Kwalanda. Every Saturday we are live on TV 47 from 4 p.m. all the way to 7 p.m. with the best sports cuisine across all sports disciplines. Remember, we stream this show live on our website, that is tv47.digital. Hapo unaona from A to Z. On Facebook as well, that is TV47 Kenya, as well as on YouTube, TV47. We are on X, we are on Insta, we are on TikTok. And now we are here. I have, of course, the chairman of the Kenya Rugby Union, Sasha Mutai, a very good friend of mine, long time. You can imagine another 1991. 1991, I was still in primary school. Well done. But of course, he knows the innings and the outings, of course, of rugby. We're discussing about where we are in terms of Kenya Cup and all that. And I promised you, of course, you need to tell us something about the women rugby in Kenya. Sasha, women have to be. They have to take dominance. I know we've put ourselves as men in this. How does your board look like in terms of the 2/3 gender rule?
Yeah, tunakaribia sana, actually. We have how many? We have 4. Yes. Yeah, we even have elected, and then we have co-opted members. And of course, women's rugby is very important for us. Yes. And we are doing very well. The Lionesses qualified for the HSBC Challenger Series in the Africa Cup. Of course, the final was South Africa and Kenya. And unfortunately, the last 3 minutes of the game, it's always been happening. We lose to South Africa, where we could win. Yeah. But anyway, that also happened for the Olympic qualifier and all that. So our women are doing very well. And for the first time now, we have sponsorship. And from Safaricom through M-Pesa. So this season, our women will be playing in the Challenger with M-Pesa in the front of their shirts. They're already in training. These things will be better this year. We just missed out on qualifying for the main series. We also missed out on the Olympics just in the final against China. And China has invested. Yep. So China brought in Sagwadon Tijans, who was a New Zealand Sevens coach, as a consultant, and Rocky Khan as the coach, who was a New Zealand Sevens player. And it's been taken seriously in China because it's an Olympic sport now. And China doesn't mess around. So they've invested in that. So the only way you can compete against such countries, and you could see the dominance in the Challenger last season. China won it clean, and in the final of the Olympic repechage, it was Kenya and China. But we lose out just like that. But now we have putting in investment in the players. They're comfortable now, they're training well, they're happy. And the destiny is in their own hands. How we have structured the contract with Safaricom is if they qualify for the main series, they have to be in the top 4. And then go to LA and beat the bottom 4. That's how the qualification is into the main series. And once that happens, Safaricom will match the contract for the women and the men. So that is how seriously we are taking this, even in contract negotiations. So we are taking care of our women, and we have professional players. We have 2 players playing in Japan, and that's what we want. But the players can make a living out of rugby.
Indeed.
And that's how it is. It's to professionalize it because the talent is there.
Plenty of it.
Yeah.
Of course, and I can see on your screens.
Yeah.
I know this is the action you are missing.
Yeah. The sacrifices I make for Kenya Rugby.
Please tell them.
Yeah. I've driven all from there very fast.
Yeah.
But I didn't break any rules of the speed.
I know you've been briefed about how everything is going to be every day.
Impala and Queens, that's a big rivalry.
Yes.
On Gong Road, it's the derby. You asked me earlier on who is my team in the Premier League. It's Arsenal. So I've gone to watch the North London derby, Tottenham and Arsenal in Arsenal. I've seen the old stadium, Highbury, which was before it was turned into housing. Yeah. And I've been to the new stadium with my good friend who was a director of Kenya Rugby. So this is now our derby. This is now the Ngong Road derby. Yes. So it should be quite exciting. They're neighbors, but...
I need to know if they're being charged. I mean, yeah. Are you? What is the entry fee? Because I can see fans. The fun experience is...
I think it's 500 bob.
Yes.
Yeah. That's for the clubs. The clubs, that is the tournament. They make the money from there. It's nothing to do with Kenya Rugby. Yeah. So I think it's 500 bob, but it's good entertainment for that.
And of course, I know we have this derby. Also, there's another derby in Nakuru as well, happening as well. So there's some very serious, lovely...
serious rugby.
Yes.
And the fans are coming back. We want to change the experience, because it's experiential, Not just as we concentrate on the pitch and everything, but we need to bring in people there. That's how you bring in the money, Indeed. So you could see we've even tested taking Safari Sevens out of Nairobi. It was a bold decision. It happened. We have broken even in that tournament. We had good rugby. Our team prepared there, won it. So for us, it's also a bigger thing that we needed good competition for Shujaa before they go for the big climbing up. They were in the Challenger Series. Some of these players, half of them had not played for Kenya before. You have to remember that. 2023. So new players. They played now at a different level of competition in the Challenger, got through, and now they have to play. If you looked at the team that they beat in the final, it's a selection of players from all over the world. Yes. So that was preparation now for Dubai. And we did very well in Dubai. We did very well in Cape Town. And it's all targeted on getting Kenya to where it should be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, true. Remember, of course, the pictures you're seeing on the screen, these are live images. This is Sports Extravaganza on TV 47. Kenya Harlequin. If you like, Queens playing against Impala. This, of course, as you've heard it from the chairman, derby. Ini derby kubwa sana kama ile derby. Yeah, I don't know why he chose Arsenal, but of course, I'm a Chelsea fan. I say it's derby, a Chelsea versus Fulham. It's a big derby, a London derby in the context of football. But this, of course, is, you call it the Ngong
Road derby. And their neighbors.
And their neighbor, of course.
In fact, you should tell the cameraman to move, to take it to the side and see the fans.
Yes, of course.
Have good banter there, shouting at each other.
Yes, of course. We would like, of course, as we go on, I know my producer, Stanley Nyarigita, please talk
I think he's had me,
There, exactly. Give us the fans, the close-up of the fans. That is, of course, it's a very safe environment for all ages.
This is a family game. We have to bring, families together. Yeah. So there's family side. There's one for the people of Sherehe. And for the ardent rugby people, it's all safe. Everything is safe. There's good security there. So come and have fun,
Indeed,
and build the game, because this money goes to the clubs. And the clubs is where we get our national team players. So when you look at this Mwamba and Queens and KCB, that's where our players are coming from. And from as far as Nakuru. We even have now players in the national team who are not in the Kenya Cup. Yeah. Like Odongo now, who's a star sevens player. But you see, there's no politics now in the choice of national team players. So it's unheard of that a second division player will play for Kenya. Now he's a star in the series already. He's scoring those tries. He's arguably the fastest sevens player in the circuit.
Well done. Of course, Odonga, I saw his rising story. Of course, I remember when I was back in 2020, 2023 or 2022. Well done to him.
He's actually doing very well.
He's actually rose up. This picture, of course, the images, this is Impala, I understand, is 0. And Harlequins is 19 so far, currently in this particular derby, Ngong Road derby in the Kenya Cup is match day 4 in the Kenya Cup season. These are images coming live to you here on TV 47. Remember, this is Sports Extravaganza. So definitely myself, I know I only love to do the social bit of such sporting events since I cannot play anymore. So I'll be joining them later on from 7 p.m. when ile nini imefunguliwa. Definitely that's it. And Chairman, of course, sevens. Of course, as we look at what's happening in the 15s over here, sevens in the world's HSB Sevens series, it's still, as you say, and you've rightly say, it's work in progress. It's work in progress. So I'm very confident in this team. Starting with the management and, of course, the players. Players are chosen on merit. They have been in Nakuru in camp, and they've come back to Nairobi today. So they're happy. They're happy with their contracts. Two former captains have joined the team. They have signed their contracts. If that's a question that you wanted to ask, I can preempt it here. Incoming. So it's all about family. We're working together. This is teamwork. You know, we talk about team sport. It's not one star. You know, you can have one star and it's not working with anybody. You're going to lose every game. You can have a team full of stars. They don't work together. They lose. But if you have a team that is a team without any big talent, they can win. And that's what we're talking about. It's all about teamwork. So we're very confident. They've gone to camp. They're happy. We have support from our sponsors, SportPesa, M-Pesa, and of course, Government of Kenya, which has been doing very well for us. And I want to give appreciation to the ministry supporting us. For, you know, they actually pay for our extra players, allowances for players when they're abroad, so they have some dollars to do some shopping or whatever, you know. Extra officials, because we travel as a big team. So what World Rugby gives is 3 tickets for coach, physio, team manager. But we have analysts, we have strength and conditioning coach, all that. So those tickets come from our sponsors and from government, but mostly from government. So government is doing a lot. They're a big sponsor. I want to say thank you to them. That team has just come from camp. It will be announced this week. They go to Perth, I think, on 18th, the next Saturday. And we're very confident. We're in a very tough pool. It's New Zealand and Fiji and Uruguay. And so we haven't played them this season. But when you're there with the big boys, remember this is the top 12 teams in the world. So you will have to meet somebody somewhere. So there's no hiding. This is for the big boys, as we say. So, of course, we've trained with New Zealand in Dubai. Good game, so we could see where we built up. And, of course, in Dubai, we had more points than them, but they advanced to the quarterfinals. So there's some new rules in World Rugby. Some of them we don't really understand why. But anyway, the team has been doing very well, as you can see the progression. And we expect good results because we have to beat Fiji. If you want to be the top in the world, you have to beat the best in the world. And we have done it before. First time we beat Fiji was in 2009 in Dubai at the Rugby World Cup Sevens. And that's when we got to the semi-final. So we have history. We've beaten them, big finals, the biggest one, the Singapore and all that. So you can see we have to beat them to be the best in the world. Our main aim for this season is to be in the top 8. Yeah. So we're just teetering on the edge there, but this is a brand new team that's now playing at the level they have not played before. Half that team have not played in this series, okay? So, and the team is young, 23, 24 years average age. So we've got huge expectations for them. Sponsorship is there, and now it's just to build and consistency so that you get a better pooling the next tournaments. Which, when you look at the inconsistencies, is if you do well in one tournament, then do badly, you're put into this pool of New Zealand and Fiji. But you have to, it's all performance-based. You have to. So you have to do it. The talking is on the pitch, and once you start getting consistency, and this team is very talented and they're working hard. So, yeah, we're very confident. And of course, I can look at just the standings quickly. Arakaraka, Fiji, 36 points. Spain, 32. South Africa 30, and of course I can jump to Kenya number 9, and of course in 11 points so far, just there on the edge of relegation and promotion. But of course that's of course, as you've heard from Chairman, to maliza in the top 8. That's of course their mission or their goal this particular season. Olympics, I know you can speak about it too. on the age. What was your take from Olympics?
Olympics, it was Kenya's best performance in any Olympics. Finished 9th. Lost to Samoa, beat Samoa in the important game, but you know, again, young team. Yes. Olympics was before the series, so they were playing against the best in the world, and that come from Challenger. So that's the reality. But they did very well. Performances were good first half, and then of course this team is young. Yeah, so we've got big expectations of them now over the next 2 years into the World Cup in 2026, and of course the next Olympics. So our progression is we are realistic, 8 this season, top 5 next, and the next one we have to be top 4. 2027 we have to be in the top 4 because we plan to qualify for the Olympics 2028 automatically, and that is non-negotiable, and we have the players to do it, we have the setup to do it. Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that, Chairman, of course. We shall be here to remind you.
Yes.
I know we are your
I'm putting everybody under pressure. You know, if the coaches are watching, they know, but we have talked about this. Huh?
Yes, yes.
So it's a progressive, we are targeted. So we are not going to just, you know, say we're going to win it outright. There has to be progression. So sports is like that. There's no hiding place. There's no, you know, rich kids, poor kids. Here you're on the pitch, and it's 4 lines, and you, whoever has more, it wins the thing.
Indeed.
Simple.
That's very true. I know we have vetted a bit of the women's rugby. How is that transition from, you said they have to start from 6 years, and I can imagine, of course, the women's rugby does not, I've not seen that kind of...
No, so women's rugby is young now. So for me, like for the boys, it's already happening. As I said, already we have players playing for Kenya now who started at 10, 9, 10. And we want to start it now countrywide by 6, you know, in the main curriculum of Ministry of Education. We want to do that. We're also now talking to the headmaster of the Japanese school in Kenya, was in tag rugby in Japan. So we have now a cooperation there. So we have to work with everybody who's done it before better than us. So that's what we're looking at. So for girls, last year we sponsored the girls rugby at the KCCC Games. That was fully funded by Kenya Rugby. Yeah. We've had them now. The 7s for girls in schools is officially in. Yep. Now we want to put the 15s officially in. 15s is more expensive, just the numbers, you know, it's more than double. Sure. Of course, the team is much bigger, so it's more expensive. But deliberately, we're putting money into that because a lot of our ladies who are playing for rugby for Kenya, a lot of them also came from other sports and now have become international players of note, okay? So Kenya has that talent. You can move from any game to other. Us, we played football, rugby, you know. Yeah, so we are good in, and I'm sure the footballers who played rugby, JJ Masiga, you know, excelled in both. Kenya is multi-talented. You just pick what you love and just go on that, you'll excel. So for girls, targeted that this season, again, we're going to fund at the games. And I've talked to the director, Ocheng Ahaya. We just talked last week. And he's asking me, and I said, yes, this is it, committed. We'll find the money for that, but it's important. So we're deliberately funding this and to get now it officially into the KCCC. So it starts there, and then, of course, with them, progressively it will go down. Okay. But for us, it's easier with the boys. So we are not going to do, I'm not a real politician to tell you, give you false promises. I'll tell you what it is. This is a plan. This is what we're going to do, and judge us on that, because we have thought it through. You know, and it's deliberate, because I have a lot of good people in rugby involved in this, as you see,
Thank you. Chairman of, Chairman Kenya Rugby Union, Sasha Mutai, of course, to share just, of course, what is happening, things are planning, the short-term goals as well, the long-term goals. We've clearly heard, of course, where they are and where they're actually forging the energy towards. So far, indeed, of course, we can see the kind of excitement also from the corporates that are joining you. It means definitely they've seen, ameona kitu ndani hapa.
Yeah.
So well done, keep it up. Us here will basically be here to be good friends and also bad friends in bad times when you are...
But you missed to ask the most important thing this season now. Remember, July is qualifier for the Rugby World Cup 2027. So Kenya, Simbas are 3 games away from qualifying. So we have put in all the efforts and all that concentrated now on the Simbas. Getting all the resources, so we're looking out for partners. We are talking to some, but this is the opportunity because we've been very close before, but this time targeted. We know who we're meeting. You know, in Uganda, it's in July. we are 3 games away from our Rugby World Cup. So we are putting all efforts to make sure that this team qualifies. And of course, we're going to have a Rugby Super Series for the 2nd time. Remember, we revived it last year after a 10-year hiatus. Again, we're looking at partners to come in for that. So Kenya Rugby is growing, and we wish everybody can join us on board.
Okay. And of course, definitely that's true. World Cup is big. Remember, just recently, last year, we had the first ever team to ever qualify for a World Cup. That is in football. Our girls, of course, in the junior starlets. Now, definitely, we have our World Cup team, Simbas.
That's a correction.
Yes.
A World Cup, Kenya Sevens qualified for 2009 Rugby World Cup Sevens and got to the semi-final. And in 2013 in Moscow, Rugby World Cup Sevens, Kenya also qualified for the semi-final, where we lost to Fiji. We were watching it with the Prime Minister of Fiji so in Moscow. So, correction. Yeah.
So definitely rugby have seen and tested a World Cup. Yeah, I know he has played football, so he understands how football is, of course, in terms of that. But now you've seen, correct, of course, rugby has been there. We've tested this. Definitely we have that curiosity or that particular oomph and or spirit to get back into the World Cup. And that is the mission, one of the missions, of course, this year. And I'm sure that will be such a huge tick to a box to tick, this particular, especially for you having been there since all these years supporting rugby. We also have, just before I let you go, we have our very own Boniface Kimanzi, who is on standby at RFUA grounds. Of course, we've been seeing the pictures over there, Impala versus, definitely we have Impala versus Harlequins. I'll be asking about the results so far from there. My producer, of course, Stanley, will be able to share with me, together with my good friend Nick Mavindi, wako pale kwa gallery. Kimanzi, from the RFUA grounds, some of the fans who are watching the Impala versus Kenya Harlequins game that was on a break before, of course, we took us a break as well. So, Chairman, you had them. One of them, of course, was like they should be a regional championship so that when the season is out, kuna, of course, tucheze in Tanzania, tucheze Uganda, all these things and stuff like that. And then, of course, there's another one who asked for more international games.
Yes, so yeah, we are working very well with Uganda Rugby Union and Zimbabwe. So the presidents, we are all progressive. Zambia as well, we've come in. Tanzania has a new president. They're very young, so we will help them assist. In fact, we even got email from Egypt who want our assistance. So we are going to help our African brothers out there because they're looking up to us because we're doing something right. Yeah? So on that question, yes, we would like to do it. But first of all, we are getting our 4 nations, the national teams, to play each other. Because in reality, Namibia has been representing Africa over the last World Cups. But we know the rivalry here between Zimbabwe, and Zimbabwe are the current champions now. And we're looking at, we have to beat them in July to get to the World Cup. So we're working together with those unions. Now, for the, we've actually started that question about Kenya having more tests. That was one of my main agenda items in my manifesto. And that we are working on right now. We had a meeting in Dubai during the Sevens with the president of Asia Rugby. We also had the vice president of Europe Rugby, and I there representing Kenya and Africa, and the president of Africa Rugby, Herbert Mensah. So we've had a meeting 2 weeks just before Christmas, I think 22nd or 23rd, where the presidents of Europe Rugby, Africa, Asia, and South America, Africa, came together and saying that we have to have a tournament, and it'll probably be in the November window. So we have 2 windows for internationals in rugby, in July and in November. So July will be the qualifiers for the World Cup across all the different regions in the world. And then November is when we can do this test. So because World Rugby really has been concentrating on the top 15 nations, top 20. The rest of us are like, we have to, we're saying we have to have competitions amongst ourselves so that we can have a chance even to improve our ranking. Because the rankings are static. If you look at world rankings, Russia has been there and they've not played a game over the years because of the sanctions. But they're still there. Now Kenya, we're just moving up and down. But now we've been moving up. So we are now at 33, our women at 23. Our main aim is to get to 20 in the world again over the years, but to qualify for the Rugby World Cup. So November window, the regional federations, presidents have met together, and including myself as representing Kenya, and we started this conversation in Dubai with the president of Asia Rugby, who is the vice president of UAE Rugby, and the vice president of Europe Rugby. So we know that we need games against each other. So, you know, like we've had Spain play here, in Portugal, and Portugal now are doing really well. They're even playing the Springboks. So our progression is like that. We are thinking of doing that. And we're now putting the efforts together with other nations, because it's all about teamwork. Get more games and get this game more popular out there, because people will come to watch that kind of spectacle. 15s rugby, not just 7s. Okay. Yeah.
Very indeed.
Thank you.
Chairman of Kenya Rugby Union, Sasha Mutai. Thank you indeed for really making time from your very busy schedule. I know this was your day. I mean, this is the day where you just sit back and enjoy, of course, what had been planned over the week. But thank you really for making time for TV47. Yeah. And you're always welcome, of course, here on TV47. We are also home to Radio 47. One of these days, of course, we will welcome you to our sister station just across these walls for us to speak about rugby.
Thank you very much.
Sana. Of course, take our greetings and best wishes to your entire team.
Thank you very much. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, definitely. Yeah, that was very important. I don't know how you forgot that.
Yeah.
So, of course, thank you very much for making time. This is Sports Extravaganza. Tony Kolanda here. Later on, just next after the chairman has left, we have one of our former Kenya international footballers, Titus Mulama. That name, of course, I remember when I was still young, 5, 6, 7 years old, playing for Motcom under 15's team in Kakamega. Titus Mulama back then was definitely shining and, of course, making and putting Kenya on the world map. We have him here. He's here to speak about how Kenya missed to qualify for the final of the Mapinduzi Cup. And, of course, our chances of Kenya winning the Chan football tournament. But first, we have our football experts who use fingers